Welcome to episode 4 of the My Enrolled Agent Career podcast. In the previous episodes, we've talked about what an enrolled agent is, how to become an enrolled agent, and then last episode, I talked about the special enrollment exam that you have to take to become an enrolled agent. Now, just like with everything else, there is an exception to that rule. Certain individuals who have experience with the IRS may be able to receive the EA credential without actually sitting for the exam. Since that's not the majority of people, I'm not going to go too far into detail about that, but I did want to let you know, just in case this is a career path that you're interested in and you do have experience working with the IRS. So, in today's episode, I want to talk about studying for the EA exam because check this out. Yes, it is set up as a standardized test, but on there, you're not preparing a tax return. Okay. And then in addition to that as well, you aren't working a representation case. The 3-part exam is going to be 85 questions for each part, and it's going to be multiple choice. And it's testing your competency and your understanding of tax law. Okay. Now, before I get too deep, let me go ahead and introduce myself for those of you who may be new here. Sorry. My name is Timalyn Bowens, and I am America's favorite EA. And as America's favorite EA, yes, I have my own EA firm, Bowens Tax Solutions. I'm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and we focus on helping taxpayers who owe the IRS $100,000 or more, right? Filling that gap to fight for them with the IRS. But the reason for this podcast is because I have a personal mission to fill the tax literacy gap one taxpayer at a time. And part of that includes people just like you who may be interested in becoming an enrolled agent and fighting the IRS for taxpayers as well. Listen, 1 in 50 taxpayers has a tax problem. That's way too many people for me to try to serve myself. So, what I wanted to do with this podcast, with my community and group, is to answer questions that you may have about the profession. Because when I started my journey as an enrolled agent, there weren't people answering questions. There weren't people with podcasts to answer questions about being an EA. There weren't newsletters, there weren't blogs. So I want to give to you what I never had. All right. And that's why starting next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'll be bringing on my first guest to also share about their journey as an enrolled agent. And this is all in hopes of helping you in your career path with being an enrolled agent. So, now that I got that all off my chest, let's go ahead and talk about this exam. I went into further details again about the exam in last episode. So if you haven't watched episode 3, make sure you go back, check that out. Since that time, I've also done a video on my YouTube channel, which is at America's Fave EA. And in that video, I actually go through what Prometric has provided for you with the IRS to let you know the material that will be covered on each one of the exams. Okay. So that will let you know like where you're strong, where you're weak, and your knowledge base of the material. The first thing that I believe that you should do, if you haven't already, is to go check out that video. I'll leave the link in the show notes below. But with checking out that video, you know everything that's going to be covered on the exam. Okay. Once you have that pertinent information that's available to you for free, you then need to figure out what your study style is. Okay. I have people ask me, Timalyn, how did you study for the EA exam? Timalyn, which EA review system would you recommend? And while that's all fine and dandy, and I'm honored that you all trust me as a valued resource, You may not have the same learning style that I have. So, what I did may not work for you, and what others have done may not have worked for me. So, take it with a grain of salt. Go check out the different systems, but don't feel down if what worked for me doesn't work for you. Okay? So you need to understand with your learning style, are you the type of person where you can read the material and then take a practice exam and then you're fine? I'm that type of learner. Yes, I'm cool like going to class, but I need to actually read the material and write out my own notes in order for me to retain the material. I know that about myself. Even if I attend a class, I still, if I want to retain it for beyond the exam, I need to actually read the material, write my own notes, and highlight. Now, I'll never have to read the book again. I'll never have to go back over all that in great detail, but that's how I learn. After being married, I realized that some people have to have a visual example of it in order to know how it works. That's how my husband studies, and that's how some of you study as well. You need those pictures and those illustrations to see the workflow process so that it actually clicks and you understand the process of what's going on. If that's you, that's fine, but you need to be able to acknowledge that so that you can find the study material that works best for you. Then we have those of us who don't need as much structure as long as you have the material. It didn't matter what was going on because at the time, my daughter was only 3. I was going to be studying for that exam. She was in preschool part time. I had my firm. I was studying for that exam. I was going to find a way. Whereas there are others of us who need more structure and you need a study schedule and you need somebody to tell you what to study and when to study and how to study. Again, that's okay, but you just need to be able to identify that and then acknowledge it. Okay. So, number one, we've already gone through and we found all the material that's going to be covered on the test. If you don't already have that available to you, again, check out the video that I have linked in the notes. I go through and show you how to go to the Prometric website, how to pull that information. And if you like digital stuff, cool. You can print it to PDF, have it available on your tablet, laptop, wherever you need it. Or you can print it because maybe you're one of those people that needs to physically touch it and highlight it and be like, okay, I know this is going to be covered. It's in publication 529, right? So you know where to go. This, again, is going to let you know everything that's going to be covered on the exam. Next, we're identifying your learning style, right? Because once you know your learning style, then you know what to look for in the EA review systems. So when I'm referring to an EA review system, I mean the different materials and systems that have been put together by different people and organizations to help you study. For example, I used Passkey Online to study for the exam and I passed it. I passed all 3 parts on the first try. Now, with that being said, the reason I like Passkey is because I had a lot going on in my life, so I needed the flexibility, right? But prior to that, I had Fast Forward Academy, the book. Now, that was wonderful for me because, again, I needed to be able to physically read the book. I needed to be able to highlight everything and take my own notes. So I went through that book myself. So by the time I got to Passkey, I was able to use their online features and to take practice exams. In addition to that, I was able to listen to Christy go over the different material in lecture format. Because I had so much going on, I would have her in my ear listening to the material that I had read, and that again helped me to retain it. Now, another thing that I loved about Passkey Online when I took the exam was the way that they had the practice exams and quizzes set up. So after I'm looking at all the information that's on the exam, cool. I want to test and see how good I'll do before I start studying because I want to know where I'm strong and I want to know where I'm weak. right? So for me, I would take the practice quiz, take the practice exam, see where I did weak, then, or where I was weak, then I would look at the material that I knew that was going to be studied on the exam or covered on the exam, excuse me today, and I would say, okay, I didn't do too hot here. This is the area that I know I need to go over and study. And with Passkey, I was able to pinpoint those different areas and listen to those lectures, go through those notes, and prepare myself for it. Okay. I was able to take the notes that I had taken from reading the Fast Forward Academy book and just review those sections of my notes because I had different sections highlighted in different colors. Didn't go back to the book, but I was able to look at my notes and move forward from that. Now, for those of you who need a little bit more structure, and this is my opinion because I did not use it to actually study and sit for the exam, Gleim. I would highly recommend Gleim for those of you who need more structure, because maybe you don't have as much self-motivation when it comes to study. I would also recommend Gleim for those who have just recently graduated from high school or college, because again, it's already structured and in my opinion, already built for those who have good study skills, okay? But not quite with all of the self-motivation. All right. So I do want to go back with Passkey Online. You can still go to Passkey Online and find them. You can type in Passkey Online and pull up their book on Amazon. However, Passkey Online, now the license to that information is owned by Hawk International. So with that, if you go to Hawk International and you look for their EA review system, you will see the Passkey Online information. With Passkey as well, it is an online subscription. The thing about that is you pay for it monthly and you pay when you need it. So if there's a time in your life where I experienced a lot of death during the time when I was studying for the exam within my family, if I had wanted to, I could have paused my subscription and then got back to it later. Okay. But for me, I was like, I'm going to save money by going ahead and busting this out, knocking it out, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. With Fast Forward Academy, I bought the book, one-time fee, and it's mine. But here's the thing, the EA exam is updated every year. If you go with something like Passkey Online, you don't have to worry about that because it's updated as the test is updated. All right. So you don't have to worry about your study material being out of date if you're using the online resources. Now, if you buy the book, you're going to have to update that, right? And there are different tiers that you can use to study as well. Now, with Gleim, they also have some material that's online. They also have at the back of the study book, they have answers to the practice quiz as well. Okay, so that's a really cool feature where you can take the practice quiz and exam and then actually see the answers in the back. Now, of course, you're going to have to work on the honor system. And if you really want to retain the information, you're not going to cheat and flip back and forth. But it is not a subscription-based program. You pay the fee and then you have material that's yours. Now, I don't have my notes in front of me because I've worked with Gleim to do a video about their EA review system where it was interview format. I believe I've written an article about it. So I do have notes about how it works. So I don't want to misquote it today, but I do believe they have a guarantee where you get the updated material until you pass. But again, if we're looking at price up front, Gleim is going to have a higher cost up front than Passkey is because you're paying for Passkey monthly. So that's something to take into consideration. Now, are those the only EA review systems? No, they are not. I believe Becker has an EA review system. MyCPE has a review system. There are different people coming along with EA review systems. However, in my opinion, Passkey is going to be the best just because I'm biased. I took that. I love the way that Christy teaches. I love her teaching style. And then after actually going through Gleim's, if I had somebody who needed a again, more structure with their study style. They already have good study habits. I would recommend Gleim for those individuals, okay? Nothing against Becker, nothing against Surgeon or the other companies that are out there. Those are just the two that I have experience with. Excuse me, I have experience with Fast Forward Academy. They had a pretty good book, right? I didn't like their online database format, however you want to word that. But again, I did take the E exam quite a while ago now. So they may have changed that. I just haven't seen those changes and know what they are. All right. So, one, we have all the material that's going to be covered on the exam. If you don't have it, I've given you a resource, a video, show you how to go get it. Number two, we're going to identify your learning style, learning study style. Number three, you can pick an EA review system to help you with covering the material for the exam. And then number four, you need to create a schedule where you have time blocked out as dedicated for you to get this exam knocked out. Now, for me, I can only do certain types of white noise. I can read while listening to music and study, but I can't have people in the same room talking. So for me, I could go to a coffee shop sometimes, but not if they were too busy or not if I was close to a table where I could actually hear the conversations that people were having. For me, I already knew that to retain information, the best place for me to study anything ever was at my alma mater, Bellarmine University, level A of the library, since June of 2008. And now in June of 2025, that still stands true. I do my best writing and my best studying on that campus. For you, maybe it's not school, but think about where you retain information the best. Do what you can to make sure that you have periods of time for you to actually study for the exam there. And then, last but not least, and this isn't always easy, I don't want to take for granted the system I had, have people who will step in and help you make sure that you get that study time in. For me, sometimes I had to take my daughter to my daughter-in-law or to my mother-in-law. Sorry, not my daughter-in-law. Sometimes I had to tell my husband, hey, this is really important to me. He was in school at the time and working full time, but this is something that I have to get done. I have to get done for me. I need you to take care of home and dinner and our daughter while I get this done. There were friends who were encouraging me along the way. None of these folks EAs, because I don't know any EAs personally at that time, right? So they don't have to be people with accounting backgrounds. They don't have to be people that know taxes, just people who love and support you and have your best interest at heart. Maybe you can have them check in to make sure that you actually got your studies done. Maybe you can ask a friend to help you with meal prepping. So during that hour that you might be preparing dinner, you don't have to. You can actually get some study time. Maybe it's a spouse or partner that you can ask to help pick up slack on certain home activities and chores so you can dedicate that time. Because remember, while you're in the midst of it, it feels like forever. But this is a designation that can help elevate your career, the path of your family, and your lifestyle. Studying for the exam is only temporary. I don't want to say this may sound too bad. It's only temporary, right? So it's not going to be something that's instant gratification, but I promise you, once you are able to fill out Form 23 and submit everything to be get that license, it will all be worth it. So I hope you found this video helpful. I'm excited about next week on June 8th. We will have our first guest for the podcast for episode 5. So from tonight, you have 7 days to go watch the first 3 episodes to make sure that you're all caught up. If you have any questions about anything involving studying for the EA exam, becoming an EA, running your own EA firm, make sure you drop them in the comments. I would appreciate your subscribing to this channel because I'm so excited to provide this resource for you to help you on your enrolled agent career journey.